Hello everyone. So today we shall discuss about the disinfection process. From module 4. Okay. So these days disinfection you might be very much aware because of the prevailing pandemic situation throughout the globe, and these terms are almost everyone use this the terms like disinfection and sterilization, things like that. So what is actually disinfection? Okay, so disinfection is a process of deactivation or killing of pathogenic microorganisms. So there is a slight difference between disinfection and sterilization. So here disinfection means killing only pathogenic organisms. That means it may contain some viruses, protozoans, bacteria, fungi and other such microorganisms which are able to cause any diseases. So that is called as disinfection. So however, sterilization means it is a completely bacteria free environment. So that means this sterilization process is usually done in high precision laboratories, or also in case of hospitals, so wherein there could not be any microorganisms which may lead to infections and other kind of things. So as far as water treatment and wastewater treatment is concerned, so we use the term called as disinfection. So it is a process of killing the pathogenic organisms. So coming to the treatment of water, here if you do not remove the viruses and bacteria which might have come in contact with water, because the bacterial cells and viruses are they are actually not visible to our naked eye. So hence a very small quantity of water sample may contain huge number of microorganisms, so which might cause the various forms of diseases. So in that case, so we should treat the water to the level so that it may not cause any harmful diseases. So there are various methods of the disinfection. So here you can see in the process of water treatment, we have the series of processes which we have discussed in your earlier modules. So we have the process of screening, then coagulation, then sedimentation, then filtration. So before supplying the water to the communities, so we do a process called as disinfection. Okay, so here when all these treatment processes have been done in the previous stage, so before storing the water over a tank and supplying it to the communities, so this is the last process of water treatment. Here it is majorly done to kill the bacteria, viruses, protozoans dissolved in organic salts, color, odor and taste. Here the various forms of disinfectants are used. It is a complete process wherein the water is free from all forms of the impurities, so including the color, taste, odor and also microorganisms. So then we can call this water as potable water. Okay, so when the water undergoes all these kinds of treatment under various stages, then that water is fit for drinking purposes. Okay, so for the process of disinfection, so we use certain chemicals and reagents, so that those chemicals are called as disinfectants. That means disinfectants are the chemicals or reagents which we use to do the process of disinfection. Okay, so this is more common nowadays. These viruses, and especially these coronaviruses and other form of viruses which are very common these days, and since because of this pandemic which has spread worldwide, so disinfection is a latest buzzword where everyone is talking about this disinfection process. So it is people should be much aware of the process of disinfection, because without proper disinfection process, so it will really kill whole lot of people, like you have seen these days, because of this pandemic, where a lot of people's families, health and economies have been completely shattered and devastated because of this growing pandemic viruses. Okay, so now coming to disinfection kinetics and the theory of disinfection. So here the theory of disinfection is explained by the Chick's law. Here the Chick's law is defined as the rate of kill of this is directly dependent on the application of the disinfectant, that is dN by dt is equal to minus K into N. So where K is known as the disinfectant constant, and N is the number of microorganisms, and K is the disinfection contacts, and T is the contact time. So according to the Chick's law of disinfection, it follows the first order kinetics as shown in this equation here, that is dN by dt is equal to the rate of kill is directly proportional to the contact time of the disinfection process. Okay, so based on that we have various methods of disinfection, so which are listed here. So the first one is called as boiling, then treating the water with excess of lime, treating the water with ozone, treatment with bromine, so treatment with hydrogen peroxide, treatment using UV rays, treatment with iodine, treatment using potassium permanganate, and chlorination. So these are various methods of disinfection. So out of this very common mode of disinfection method, which most of the people follow in many countries and many places, boiling. So that means if you boil the water at certain temperature, that is up to more than 70-80 degrees centigrade or more than 90 degrees centigrade, then most of the viruses and bacteria will be killed because of the high temperature. So that is the very simple and oldest form of disinfection method. So apart from that, nowadays we use various methods which are listed here. Out of that, the chlorination is very common method because of its easy application and because of its economical and the advantages compared to all other methods. So however, ozone disinfection is also used nowadays because it will not leave any residual compared to chlorination, but relatively it is quite costly compared to the normal chlorination. But however, for most of the water and wastewater treatment plants, chlorination is predominant. We use the chlorination process, that is the application of bleaching powder or the direct application of the chlorine gas in the form of as a disinfectant in the treatment of water. So that is the reason wherein the chlorine application is studied in detail. So here when we apply the bleaching powder, when we add the bleaching powder to the chlorine, so bleaching powder is nothing but calcium oxychloride. So when you add this, it will be these reactions will happen when you add the chlorine to the water. So hypochlorous acid and hypochlorite ion will be formed when you mix the chlorine with the water. So the following reaction occurs, that is hypochlorous acid is formed and the OCl minus hypochlorite ion is formed. Okay, so here hypochlorous acid is a weak acid that again dissociates to form the hypochlorite ion. Okay, so when this chlorine is added to the water, so it is generally applied in two ways, like I told you, in the form of chlorine gas and also in the form of sodium hypochlorite or bleaching powder. Okay, so chlorine gas, when it dissolves in the water, so it will be converted into the it is mixed in the water and the disinfection process appears. And it happens, and this hypochlorous acid and hypochlorite ion, so they are actually the disinfecting agents. When you add this, so we shall see that in a breakpoint chlorination curve, that what is going to happen when you add the chlorine to the water. So as of now, chlorine and bleaching powder in the form of calcium oxychloride, and also the chlorine gas can be directly added in the treatment of water. Okay, so this curve shows the breakpoint chlorination. So here as you can see in the x-axis it is showing as the chlorine which is applied. Okay, in the y-axis the residual chlorine is plotted. Okay, so this curve generally takes a form of this shape. So this is called as the, when you first add the chlorine, then the organic compounds and chloranamines will be oxidized in the first stage. So then you will get the peak at this level. So then afterwards there will be a sudden drop in the applied chlorine, the residual chlorine plot, in the applied chlorine versus residual chlorine plot. So there will be a drop, and again the curve will start to uprise from this point, and this point is called as the breakpoint chlorine. So that means up to this level it is a combined chlorine. That means when you add the chlorine beyond this breakpoint, so that will appear as free chlorine or free residual chlorine. Okay, so this is called as the breakpoint chlorination. So we shall see again further what is this breakpoint chlorination in detail. So hypochlorous acid and other chlorine compounds having disinfecting ability by virtue of their being oxidizing agents, so will oxidize sulfides and ferrous or manganese ions. So they don't have any disinfecting activity. At the interfering compounds of all these interfering compounds that destroy the disinfecting ability, so that means the chlorine demand is exerted here, so which is defined as the difference between the amount of chlorine applied and the quantity of free or combined available residual chlorine measured in the water at the end of specific contact period. Okay, so when we add chlorine to the water, there will be no chlorine demand. So a linear relationship is established between the chlorine dosage and the free residual chlorine as shown in the figure. So when chlorine is added to the water, it reacts with any reducing agents and ammonia that are present, forming the chloramines which we have seen in the curve. So it is believed that the chlorine reacts first with the reducing agents. Since the chlorine is destroyed, no measurable residual is produced. That means when you add the chlorine, so which is used for the oxidation of the organic compounds forming the chloramines. So following the oxidation of these reducing agents, that is sulfides, nitrates and ferrous ions, the chlorine will react with ammonia to form the inorganic chloramines. Okay, so when the complete oxidation of all the chloramines have happened, the addition of more chlorine creates the breakpoint phenomena. So that is what is called as breakpoint, which we have seen in the curve. So at the breakpoint dosage, some resistant chloramines may still be present, but at such small concentrations they are unimportant. So chlorine is most widely used used as a disinfectant in most of the water treatment plants. So depending upon the predominant usage of chlorine, hypochlorous acid and hypochlorite ion, we can achieve the disinfection greater than 99.9% of the destruction of the bacteria. For example, a chlorine residual of 0.2 to 1 mg per liter and a contact time of 50 to 30 minutes will activate almost 99.9% of the E. coli bacteria. So E. coli bacteria is a bacteria that is called as Escherichia coli, which is generally infested in human intestines, and it is found mostly in the human excreta. Okay, and it is able to cause the diseases, and it is an indicator organism to check the water for the presence of bacteria. And this is the curve where you can clearly see the different levels in the process of breakpoint chlorination. So in the x-axis you can see the chlorine dose which is measured in ppm or parts per million, and in y-axis this curve represents the chlorine residual in ppm. Okay, so here what happens when you add the chlorine, this is the first stage, the formation of chloride. So before that there will be some oxidation process which will happen, that will the chlorine is consumed for the oxidation of the organic compounds, and at the last level all the chlorine will be used up by the other compounds in the form used by ammonia in the formation of the chloramines. Okay, so after this point the destruction of the chloramines happens and the curve starts to reduce, and this point is called as the break point. So that means up to this stage most of the disinfection process will happen, and whatever the chlorine we are going to add after this point, so that will appear as free chlorine, free residual chlorine. So that is up to the resident point it is combined residual chlorine. So beyond this break point, the whatever the chlorine we add, so that will appear as free residual chlorine. That is building of free chlorine residual plus combined chlorine is the level 3 after the chlorination process, and this is the total residual chlorine. That is, it is nothing but the addition of combined residual chlorine and free residual chlorine, that is called as total residual chlorine. And the curve on this point where destruction of the chloramines happens and all the organic matter is oxidized and most of the disinfection process have happened, so this point is called as the break point chlorination. That means whatever the chlorine we add beyond this point, it will appear as free residual chlorine. Okay, and what is meant by chlorine demand then? Okay, so when chlorine is added to the water, some of the chlorine, as we have discussed, it first reacts with inorganics and organic materials and metals in the water, and it is not available for disinfection, and this is called as the chlorine demand of the water. After the chlorine demand is met, the remaining chlorine is called as the total chlorine. So that was what we have seen in this graph. So that chlorine which is added beyond the break point, that will appear as free residual chlorine. Okay, so this is the chlorine residual with no chlorine demand. Okay, and this is the curve where you can see the chlorine residual after the chlorine demand is satisfied, and the difference between that is called as the chlorine demand. Okay, so the chlorine demand is important because so we should be able to analyze this in the laboratory. So that means we take around 4 to 5 different samples and 100 ml of sample, and we add varying dosages of the chlorine solution to these bottles, and we will titrate it against standard solution of sodium thiosulfate by adding the reagents with potassium iodide crystals, and with by using starch as an indicator. If yellow color is appeared, then it says that there is the residual chlorine available, and after titrating it with standard sodium thiosulfate solution, we can obtain the chlorine demand of the water. So chlorine demand is the difference between the amount of chlorine added to the water or wastewater and the amount of residual chlorine remaining after a given contact time. So that means when we add the chlorine and after a given contact time of 15 to 20 minutes or half an hour, so we again analyze the chlorine, so that the difference, whatever the difference which is remaining after the end of the contact period, so the remaining chlorine is called as the chlorine demand. That is the difference between the amount of chlorine added to the residual chlorine. So this chlorine demand may change with dosage, time, temperature, pH and nature and amount of the impurities present in the water. That means if the water contains more bacterial load, or if may contain more organic matter and more number of metal ions and ammonical compounds, the chlorine demand may be a little high and vice versa. Okay, so this flowchart represents when you add the chlorine. So first the reaction with organics and inorganic metals will be oxidized, so that is called as the chlorine demand. That is the demand exerted by the metal ions and the organic and inorganic components present in the water prior to the process of disinfection. That is called as the chlorine demand. So then we have the total chlorine, the remaining chlorine concentration after chlorine demand of water is met. So that is again classified as free chlorine and combined chlorine. So free chlorine is nothing but the concentration of chlorine available for disinfection. So combined chlorine means concentration of chlorine combined with organic and inorganic nitrogen compounds in the water. It is not effective for the disinfection process. Only this free chlorine is available for the complete disinfection of the water. Okay, so this is the contaminated water, so which consists of the bacteria, viruses and all, and when we do the process of disinfection by using chlorine, so we will see this disinfecting water. Okay. Okay, so nowadays, like I told you, disinfection, sanitation, sterilization are most common buzzwords during this COVID-19 times. So we should use the water judiciously, and as well as we should see that whatever the water we are consuming and also the water which we are supplying it to the communities, it should be free from all forms of pathogenic impurities. And nowadays there are very advancements in the measurement of the bacteria and viruses using the latest technologies, so as we can test the water before and after the application of different forms of disinfecting agents, and we will check the water, and so that whenever when the water satisfied all the pollution control board requirements and statutory requirements by Indian Council of Medical Research ICMR and also WHO standards, then the water is safe for drinking. And especially for country like India, where there is a huge population and also there is a rampant pollution and discharge of wastewater in the receiving water bodies by various industrial pollutants, and also the improper disposal of sanitary sewage. So there is a greater risk of the spread of epidemic diseases, especially related to water and related to the water and wastewater treatment, and then people should be very cautious when using the water for the consumption. So let us stop at this stage. I hope you have understood some of the terms like disinfection process, application of the chlorine, so breakpoint chlorination and chlorine demand. So we shall see the next process, like the process of removal of fluoride and these things, fluoride and hardness from the water, and treating the water in the next sessions.